lost my heart and hope to die. Welcome to my dark side.
So we got to get into this, baby, because we're doing one of the big three. If you're an anime lover, you probably heard the name Naruto. But this is part one for us. Naruto's a big series. So we're going to start off at the beginning. So we're not touching Shippuden. We are just talking about them as children. All right. So that's where we are. I am going to throw this to Mr. Conspiracy. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go ahead and let him start us off. You in the bathrobe. You look comfortable. So you get to go first, baby. You know what I'm saying? Hey, so let's roll with this. You know what I'm saying? Make me want to go put an outfit on or something.
Alrighty, so Naruto in the Naruto universe. Okay, so Naruto is an excellent anime for me. It's not super old like Dragon Ball Z and a few of the other ones, but I still think that it's up there with them as far as where I rank it. It's a phenomenal story. Fun fact, I didn't even like Naruto when it first came out. I didn't even want to watch it. The only reason why that I actually started watching it is because of one of my older brothers. He was watching it, and I was like, dude, that looks so stupid. And he was like, oh, no, man, that's pretty good. So I was like, okay, cool. So I gave it a chance here and there because I was feeling like, for some strange reason, why are they in sandals? Like, I can't get past ninjas being in sandals. I couldn't take them seriously at first. Because I was like, does everybody wear sandals? This doesn't seem right. They're supposed to be ninjas, right? So it took me a while to actually get into it. So when I got into it, I really thought that it was a phenomenal story being told when you're talking about the first part of Naruto. So for the people who've never seen it, which if you're watching this channel, you should have definitely have heard of Naruto at least. He is I guess you want to call him an orphan or an abandoned child in the Hidden Leaf Village. He is what they call a Chichiriki. In this world, they have what they call tailed beasts. There are nine-tailed beasts. They are basically special mystical monsters, is what you really want to call them. And they each have a tail. So it goes from a one tail all the way up to a nine tails. Depending on what tail that beast has will determine the actual power level that they have. So if you, of course, have a Cherokee that has the nine-tailed beast, then you have the strongest nine-tailed beast. And this just so happens that Naruto, people thought that he was actually born with the nine-tailed beast within him. So because of that, he was looked down on in the village as a monster, as someone who should not be talked to, as just thrown to the wayside. No one even knew who his parents were. He has a crazy backstory. So, long story short, he was hated by the village people. Only person who actually liked him was the third Hokage, who was basically what you would call the president or like the emperor of their village. What's going on, DLC?
I think we got to give some context to a lot of this because we on the assumption that people know what Naruto is, they don't know what Hokages are. I know you just explained that, or even what the hidden village in the Leafs is, you know what I'm saying? So I think we have to do a little bit more of an introduction for folks on this show because if you've never seen it, these terms don't mean anything to you. So I just wanted to throw that out there while you explaining this. You may want to go a little detail on some of this stuff because they may not know what you're talking about. That's that. Gen Cherokee, I know you explained it, but for the high gate and all that stuff, we might have to give a little context on that, Mr. Conspiracy. That's all.
Oh man, my bad, man. I thought that was your job. You the host. But anyway, so let me go ahead and go back to my deal. What I was saying before DLC. Hey, I'm doing my job, brother. I'm doing my job, man. Okay, but you picked me. I'm doing my job right now. Okay. So in this ninja world, they have what they call a ninjutsu, and with their abilities, they're able to use all of the elements. Certain ninjas can use certain elements, and certain ninjas that can use a certain amount of elements, they would have a special ability called the Gekkei Genkai. I'll leave that for a later introduction. And so with the villages around, you can basically just call them separate countries, right? You have the Hidden Leaf, and then there's certain, I guess you can call them towns or cities within the actual Hidden Leaf country. And then you have the Rainstone Village. There's a whole bunch of other countries that basically border each other, and they all are at war. And the main, not pillars, but the main authority are the feudal lords. So it's around like the feudal lord era is basically what the whole environment is actually set around. And the ninjutsu that they use is based on chakra. So if you've seen Dragon Ball Z, how they use ki blast and energy beams, well, in Naruto with ninjutsu, they use chakra. And chakra within the body, you can think of them as special storage containers at the acupuncture points in your body. Think of it like that. So it's not like they become like super beings, like like in other anime. So it's really a story on the fact of using ninjutsu, and these villages basically have a huge bloody history when it comes to rivalries and going to war. And at this point, when Naruto actually starts, they've already had 3 great ninja wars. So when you actually start the show, they've already had 3 great ninja wars. You have to keep on watching it just to actually see the actual past of what actually happened in the other ninja wars when they do flashbacks. And so for me, Naruto is actually pretty interesting. I don't think any other anime that I have seen thus far actually takes it the way that they take ninjutsu and the feudal lord era, the way that they do. And when it comes to Jinchuriki, it's basically not I'm trying to think of the word, not a possession, but they're basically just a holder of a tailed beast, right? And most countries actually have a Jinchuriki. Not all, but most do. And so for me, Naruto is really good story. I like the animation of it. As far as characters, they have a lot of characters that they do a lot of good development on early on in the story. As far as Naruto Part 1, I really like how they do it, and I think that's what actually makes people fall in love with Naruto from the beginning. Now, as far as in later seasons or later arcs, things like that, it's a little bit different. But for this, I would say if you want to start Naruto, when you start at the beginning, I think that you would really enjoy it, and I definitely enjoy it, and it's definitely in my top 10 without a doubt of all time.
All right, Mr. Conspiracy, we'll let that roll. All right, I'm gonna flip this up, Professor. You know what I'm saying? You over here nodding your head, you ready to jump in this. So go ahead, man. Tell us about Naruto for you, man.
Intelligent
Tell us.
time.
Yeah, man, it was a good summation about Naruto. Well said. I think when Naruto first came out, I can't even remember how I got into it. I don't know if it was my brother. I don't know if it was my friend that got me into it. But started watching it. I really enjoyed the beginning of it and the story. He was an outcast. The Hokage, the president, just kind of took him under his wing. He was, like a grandfather to him. And they just kind of had a kind of unveiled, what was going on, why the villagers felt the way they felt about him. His goal was to become a Hokage. He was going to be, he's kind of one of those characters. He's going to be the greatest, the best, kind of kin to, Black Clover, kind of had, kind of that hero. It first came out, it probably was in my top 10 when it first came out, but as time goes on, it didn't really age well for me. I didn't stick with the story as long as, most people did, as the fans did, but I thought initially it was a good story and just kind of got, I don't know if it's filler material, but it just kind of lost me as they kind of went further into kind of the backstory. But initially when it first came out, it was definitely a great anime. Definitely enjoyed watching it. It just didn't age well for me, for whatever reason. I don't know if it was too many episodes, my attention span too short concerning everything, but it just didn't hold me. But it's definitely worth a watch. It's earned its place, as far as people's top 10s, anime, things like that. Just not for me. But it's definitely, a good story. That's all I got to say about it.
Okay, you know what I'm saying? All right. Well, we got to move on to the most unique person on this panel, Christopher Robbins. What do you have to say about Naruto?
Oh man, I'm gonna agree with Conspiracy and the Professor. I do know when I started watching it, Doc was actually one person that got me on watching Naruto. I think, what was I watching? I forget. He's like, man, you watch Naruto? I'm like, that sounds like ramen. What the hell is Naruto? And he's like, it's about this little ninja boy, and he got this big old shuriken he throws. And I'm like, oh, he throws up gang signs so he can do superpowers. I'm like, gang signs? Superpowers? But then I was like, well, let me check it out. And sure enough, he throw up gang signs. He does superpowers. It was wrong. He got sandals. I didn't understand the women with the heel sandals. That was weird. How can you get around? But anyway. But yeah, Naruto, again, I'm going to agree with Mr. Professor. It did not age well. However, it is going to be in one of my legendary tops, though, because it is set the precedent for me watching anime. Again, I'll agree, just like Dragon Ball, One Piece, all the filler arcs, it can get redundant. But if you start off watching Dragon Ball, you kind of got used to that. Some things you're still like, I can skip this. But just like a good shonen jump show, they do set up the protagonist very well. He's this loner kid. He gets picked on because he gets treated almost like an outsider, even though he's part of the village, because he doesn't have any parents. People find him obnoxious, but he's at the bottom. He's at the lowest he can go, and as a kid, and nobody's caring for him. But he has this big dream. I'm going to become the top ninja in my village. I want to be the Hokage. He sets his heights high. And just like any other like One Piece, everybody who knows Luffy, he started off low. He wants to be king of the pirates. A Dragon Ball Z, Goku, he's just, little guy, and he wants to be the strongest fighter in the world. But they set up the protagonist stories really well. So you fall in love with him. So you find yourself rooting for Naruto. Oh man, yeah, I want you to become a Hokage. Kick everybody's butts, Like I said, I can't. I tried to go back and rewatch it. I just couldn't. I did stick with it though, all the way up to Boruto. I couldn't
Whoa.
finish Boruto.
We don't talk about that sin on this show. We don't talk
We don't
about
talk
this
about
sin on this
Boruto.
show.
In
We
Kanto,
don't
we
talk
don't
about
talk
that.
about Burrito. We don't talk about
Yeah,
Burrito.
yeah, we don't talk about burrito on this show, dog. So you can go ahead and
Yeah,
bypass that.
I'm just saying, like I followed it for to most of its length. It was definitely something new. You got these ninjas doing hand signs. I mean, it's a rich story though. If you actually look at it, just not for the fight. It was a lot of story, and like Conspiracy said, the character development. They have a ton of characters, but they took time to flush them out. They might not do it right away, but they always go back to tell stories. And I think that's what the fillers they use the fillers right to go back and like if there was mystery stuff to tell those stories and you kind of to tie in to the main story. You kind of you didn't guess a whole lot. A lot of things were answered in the show. Yeah, Naruto's gonna hold a special place in my heart. Yeah, Doc.
Well, I can definitely say this. Naruto is the character design for everybody who's a loud-headed, knucklehead character because he's the one who started that nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is based on this loud, ignorant dude. The number one knucklehead, is what he's known as. So what I would say about Naruto, the beginning of Naruto is very silly. When I was younger, I could rock with it, but as I've grown up, the very beginning of the story is kind of hard for me to go back and be like, oh yeah, because it's really silly. Now, does it have some adult themes around it? Sure. I think what made the story interesting to me was the community they built, like with the whole universe that they built out. Because like Hokage, we like, what does that mean? That literally means fire shadow. You have the Kazekage, which is the wind shadow. You got the Mizukage, which is the water shadow. You got the Raikage, which is the lightning shadow, and the Tsukage, which is the earth shadow. Literally, the Hokage, like you said, are presidents. They use chakra instead of magic and mana. It's chakra, and everybody has different abilities. I think what I can really dig on the story is I get why Naruto is the way Naruto is because of his backstory, and I think he's probably him and Sasuke to me have a very interesting backstory. Their stories. Like I don't necessarily care for them when they're kids. Part 2, it gets a little bit more adult, but the reason a lot of the way they act and the rivalry and stuff like that is a lot of their backstory. And you don't really get to see their backstory. You hear about it, but you really don't see it until Shippuden. And so for me, like the storytelling is really good in Naruto. I'll give you that. I can't stand Naruto sometimes because he's like Asta. He's just loud for no reason. But the dude, one thing about him is he never quits. And I think that if you're any kid or somebody who looks at this, like the dude just never stops.